In 2008, the Western capitalism has been hit by one of its worst crises since the Great Depression in 1929. And following this crisis, Barack Obama, current president of the United States, has implemented a stimulus plan. The plan was to bring back confidence in the economy and to make firms to produce and employ more people. The thing is, the actual economic mechanism that this plan was designed to use was much more complex than just buying stuff to make people work and get an employment. There was something that we call multiplier that might be interesting for you to know, and that will be on the test. So let's first begin by defining what's a macroequilibrium. Macroeconomy is the economy as a whole. It comes from the Greek macro, whole. Macroeconomic equilibrium can be defined through an equation. So we have C, consumption, I, investment, G, government expenditure, X, exports, Y, GDP or production, internal domestic production, and M, imports. This equation means that from what we have, which means what we produce, all the goods and services that are produced in our country, and what we get from other countries, what we import, we can either consume it, the government can use it to pay and make and do whatever he wants with it, he's the government. We can either save it and invest it, or we can ship it back to other countries. If we wanted to show it on a graph, shouldn't make it too big. Let's say we are in a closed economy without government, without investment. Just the simplest case ever. Our original equation simplifies to C plus I is equal to Y. So closed economy, we don't have any X, any M. Without government, we don't have any G. C plus I is equal to Y. A macroequilibrium is on the 45-degree line, because that's a set of points in which what we produce is equal to what we consume at the end of the economic process. Let's talk about a consumption function. Let's say you earn nothing at all. Do you consume something? Do you die of hunger and the misery of a desert? You do consume. Whatever, even if you're not employed, even if you have no income, you've got to consume something. We are not, economists are able to say those people should not be employed, they should be unemployed right now, their factory should be closed and burned. But we don't want people actually to die. So we start at a positive level of consumption. And then if I give you $10,000, are you going to consume some of it? Of course. And if I give you $1 million, are you going to consume more or less than you used to consume with my $10,000? You're going to consume more. The more I give you, the more you're going to consume. Okay? And thus this consumption function is going to be positive slope, as it's going to has a positive slope. Here comes the magic. If I plug this function in this original graph, I have something like that. So here we have the macroequilibrium, and here we have our consumption, let's say function formula. So that's not exactly that, but let's call it like that right now. The macroequilibrium that the economy ends up staying in is this one. You produce that much, Y, let's say Y1, and you consume that much, the same amount. Let's say we're in a crisis, and this production is way lower than what is needed to give a job to every American worker. And there is a need, maybe not, that's politically engaged, I'm gonna keep my opinions for myself. When Barack Obama came in, he said, we need to implement a stimulus plan and bring back the economy to a higher level of GDP. If we introduce government in our equation, we get up something like that. If there are some math major here, and there is, the difference in slope between the two curves is going to have an interesting result. When you shift, that's the magic I was talking about. When you shift the consumption function, we go from C1 to C2, the positive is the difference in slope, which can be calculated through an integral. Let's say this is the stimulus plan of Barack Obama. He gives people some money to spend. He orders the army and government agencies to buy stuff, etc. So we shift up the consumption function. There is more revenue to spend. The increase in consumption will increase GDP by more than that. That's the multiplier. An original increase gets multiplied to get the actual increase in GDP. That's what was targeted through the stimulus plan. What can we say about the results of this plan right now? Actually, it kind of worked. We can say the plan itself worked, but still, in 2008, the US were in recession. They had a recession of about -3 points of GDP, which is gigantic. Created hundreds of thousands of unemployment, job cuts, and a significant increase in unemployment. Today, in 2010, we're close to 2.5% increase of GDP. So it kind of worked. Maybe not. Maybe just business firms were just more confident and they were willing to employ more. No one can really say. What we can say, however, is that the gigantic amount of money that was invested through the plan was supposed to produce a much higher number, and we will see in the next lecture why it might have been reduced.